Yeah, son, don't be ashamed of Jesus. He loves you, man. He loves you. He loves you. You farmers, well, the farmer plants the seed, who brings the harvest? God. You don't go whoever you are, God knows. Whoever you are. You're a farmer, young man. You know when you plant the seed, who brings life, who gives the harvest? God. You've forgotten God, you lose his blessing.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
The bad weather puts off left-wing protesters, but not, I see, the farming community. And you're going to go and give them hell in Westminster today, are you not? Because the MPs need to listen. Now look, I have believed right from the very start that provided this campaign was sustained and was taking place all over the country, I actually think there are some wins that we can get from this. Why? Well, normally, governments with big parliamentary majorities can do what the hell they like. This government has a big parliamentary majority, but 7 months in, how well's it going? They are doing very, very badly indeed, and they're scared out of their lives. They've got 100 Labour MPs that are representing rural or semi-rural constituencies. And from what I can see, Joe Public is getting behind the concept that the family farm should not be driven out of existence. So politically, I think we can win this. And what's really exciting is other groups are getting on board too. Because this IHT, it isn't just the farms that it hits, it's family businesses as well. In fact, inheritance tax, when you think about it, it's on money that we paid tax on already. The whole thing's monstrous. So I think the country now is going to come together with lots of different groups, and let's just stand up and say no to death taxes, full stop. End death taxes. They're wrong, they're immoral at every level. And the way your community is being treated is unbelievable. I think somebody in the Treasury got their sums wrong, where they set the financial limits, or could it be they just want lots of land? Because they're planning for another 5 million people to come into the country in the next few years. They want to cover tens of thousands of grade 1 agricultural land in places like Lincolnshire with solar panels. Could it be there is an even deeper, more sinister agenda behind what they're doing? Either way, what they're doing is wrong. And I think the one thing the people of this country have is a strong affinity and a strong feeling for the countryside. And that countryside is as beautiful as it is because of families, be it small farms or bigger estates, that have managed this land for centuries and left it as it is. So let's get the whole country behind this campaign, apart, of course, from the political class in Westminster, who now have no connection or no understanding of what our rural communities are, what they represent. Maybe you're not diverse enough. Maybe that's what it is. Although I think, as we can see, and Alan mentioned it, DEI is dying in America, and very soon it's going to die here too. And we'll start judging people on who they are, not what they are. And wouldn't that be a huge improvement? So I promise that I will go on with my colleagues backing your campaigns here and around the country. I also promise that if we have anything to do with it after the next general election, and you never know, the polls are looking quite good at the moment. If we have anything to do with it after the next election, if this has been done to your community, I promise you, we will reverse it. And I make that a promise to you. So look, let's keep fighting. Let's keep the pressure up here and right around the country. And by the way, you've all been behaving impeccably. I know some think more radical action is planned for, But remember, we're not French. All right? They might set fire to things. That might be their culture. It's not our culture. And I would urge all of you, despite how much you've got on the line, despite how distressing this is, and I know in Clacton itself, I've met farming families in tears because they so desperately want to hand this on to the next generations. But please, keep doing it the way you're doing it. Voluble, but peaceful, within the law. And I tell you what, if we do that, we'll get the whole country on side. I wish you all the very best of luck. I promise you, I am right behind you. To London we go!
Support for the farmers in their campaign against inheritance tax.
I've been supporting rural campaigns since the 1990s because basically I've grown up in the English countryside. I do have an understanding and an affinity for the farming community, particularly the small farming community. I've been supporting these guys ever since the announcements on inheritance tax were first made. Pleased to be here today. Also pleased to see the campaign is ramping up. It's growing right across the country. And the message I've been putting to them, I think they're listening to, which is 100 Labour MPs now representing rural seats. If they see local communities getting behind these families, they're going to start getting scared. And they're going to start putting pressure on number 10. And let's face it, they're in pretty big trouble already. So I think if this campaign is persistent and peaceful, they can get change.
I do believe inheritance tax should be scrapped completely, not just for the...
Yeah, I do actually. I think, inheritance tax, you're basically taxing money that's been taxed already. It's a death tax. And it's horrible. I mean, people living with semi-detached houses in London are now dragged into inheritance tax. And yes, of course, you can do 7-year planning and all the rest of it, but unlikely things happen. I honestly believe just getting rid of inheritance tax as a whole would be a good thing.
You spoke at the weekend about reforms to membership toppling 200,000. Is reform now the main opposition to Labour?
I've not much doubt about that in my mind. I think we're the ones providing the challenge. We're the ones out doing stuff every day. We may only have 5 MPs, but boy, they're certainly being felt in Westminster. And the Labour Party doesn't know what it is anymore. And frankly, today's the 100th day of Kemi Badenoch's leadership. It doesn't stand for anything.
And finally, do you reiterate the statement of your chairman at the weekend that there's no circumstances where you'll do a pact with the Conservative Party or Boris Johnson?
Look, to do a pact with people, you've got to think I'm going to shake your hand and you're an honourable person. After the betrayal post the 2019 election, we do not believe them to be honourable. Simple as that. So the answer is no.